Okay, so this is the second to last video for 2018. The last video will be uploaded either tonight or tomorrow, which is Sports Hop Series episode number 80. And what I'm going to do in this video is to give you guys the 25 bold prediction in MLS for 2019. I did something very similar to this on my second channel. But on my second channel, I talk about 25 bold prediction around the sports world. And I already did that video. I'll leave a link in the description below if you guys want to watch that on my second channel. But yeah, before we actually get into the 25 bold MLS prediction, I actually have one bonus thing that I also will kind of talk about that I didn't talk about on yesterday's news of the week. And that is that David Villa has signed with Visa Kobe, and that in 2019 there will be a time where he will be returning to stateside and he will be playing a couple of MLS teams as part of a preseason tour. So we're not going to see the last of David Villa in terms of him facing an MLS team, but after that most likely we will see the last of David Villa facing an MLS team, and it's going to just see out his career in the J League, which is, he's not the first Spanish player and certainly one of the greatest Spanish player to seize out his career in an Asian league. You know, Xavi, of course, sees out his career in Qatar. Andre Iniesta sees out his career also in the J League. So yeah, he basically is following the path of many European legends that decided to just retire their career in Asia instead of it is in MLS. So take that for anybody that says that MLS is a retirement league. It's not a retirement league anymore, is it? But without further ado, let's actually now talk about the main thing that I will say in this video about the bold prediction. And like I said in that video on my second channel, I would have put it on the board if I had a bigger board, but unfortunately my board is just not big enough to fit all these 25 lists, which is why I now have it on my phone here. I wrote it all on my phone, and I actually wrote this about 3 weeks ago. I didn't actually write this just yesterday, so hopefully some of these actually make sense, I guess. But yeah, either way, let's start with the first bold prediction, and that is the San Jose Earthquakes will make the playoffs. And you know, last year this wouldn't be a bold prediction because I thought for sure that the Quakes were going to build from that playoff run that they had back in 2017. But obviously, you know, it is a bit of a bold prediction to say that a team won 4 games last season and they can make the playoffs straight away. And that's all even with Matias Almeyda at helm, especially the fact that the Quakes haven't done anything in this off-season. I mean, they have made one signing, and that's just a Brazilian midfielder from a second-tier league in Brazil. So yeah, that's not really some progress that we are making, and we need so many changes in terms of this team. The second thing is that Wanda will get the MLS all-time leading goal scorer record by July, and I guess this is not really a bold prediction, more that it probably will happen. I mean, he's only 2 goals away from passing, or 1 goal away from tying Landon Donovan's record, and 2 goals away from breaking Landon's record. So most likely that is going to happen. The third thing is that the Galaxy will miss the playoff for the 3rd year in a row, and Zlatan might not get to 20 goals. So yeah, that is definitely a bit of a bold prediction, saying that the Galaxy, one of the best and most prestigious team in the league, to miss the playoffs for the 3rd straight year, and that Zlatan might not get 30 goals. Although, to be fair, Zlatan is getting a year older, and I know a lot of people will just say that, yeah, Zlatan, he's an ageless wonder. Yeah, he might be, but you know, you never know. Maybe he's going to have a sophomore slump in his 2nd year, and because he's now a year older, that doesn't mean that he won't just slow down, okay? So, yeah. The fourth thing is that the Rapids might score more than 40 goals this season. And I think this, because I wrote this 3 weeks ago, I didn't realize the Rapids made some really big move, and now it looked like they're gonna definitely score more than 40 goals. I mean, with Kai Kamara and Diego Rubio as their two striker, those guys are gonna easily score 10 goals each, or combine at least 20 goals for the Rapids this season. The Rapids are definitely much better in terms of this upcoming season on their attack, and I would even say, and even add a bonus kind of prediction saying that they can actually make the playoffs next season. Yeah, the Rapids, a team that has been kind of a mediocre and almost kind of like a team that has not been very successful, and yet somehow I'm predicting that they are going to make the playoffs because of the off-season move. Although I got to be careful with that kind of thinking, because remember what happened to Orlando City when everybody thought that they would make a run after a great off-season that they had? Yeah, that didn't go so well. And then the fifth thing is that one team will concede more than 70 goals. This one is not really a bit of a bold prediction, more as I think that's going to happen, considering the fact that last season we had 3 teams conceding more than 70 goals, and that with the league being a league that is more about goals than actually defending, most likely we're going to see a team concede more than 70 goals, and maybe even break the record that Orlando City has from this season. The sixth thing is that an MLS team will win CCL. Most likely it's Atlanta United. So, we've been saying all these years of how will Atlanta United does in CCL, and that it would be very exciting to see them play in CCL. Well, there you go. We get a chance not next year, but in the upcoming weeks that they will start CCL, and that will be definitely very interesting to see how far Atlanta can go. I certainly think that Atlanta will probably be the big favorites in terms of winning CCL. I know there's other teams that potentially could be favorites. Club America is certainly one of those teams that are heavy favorites, and even maybe Cruz Azul might be heavy favorite, although I don't think Cruz Azul is actually in CCL. But yeah, certainly I think an MLS team will finally get the job done, unlike what TFC did last year, where they just stumbled in the final blocks. And then the seventh thing is that the Portland Timbers will do a DC United, struggle in the first half of the season, but will have a resurgence in the second half. So, for the Timbers, last season they really struggled on the road, but they were very good at home, and they've been very good at home for the past couple of years. Providence Park is one of the hardest places to get a win, and because the Timbers are starting their first 12 games on the road, maybe they struggle in the first 12 games in a row. And last season, when they start the first 5 games on the road, they did not win any of them. So maybe we're going to see the same thing this year, and that the Timbers are just going to have a crazy resurgence, just like DC United, and basically make the playoffs. Although I think the Timbers could definitely do it with the squad that they have, and if that does happen, I don't think anybody is going to be surprising, because Portland has a very good team, and they have proven in the past that they have done very well at Providence Park. Last season with DC United, nobody expected that. With DC United, a team that was just absolutely garbage in the first half of the season, and a team that looked like are destined to miss the playoffs again, nobody expected that. So the eighth thing is that Toronto will be back in the playoffs after a horrid year. So obviously, it helps the fact that they recently signed Laurent Simon as one of their defender, and certainly that will make the TFC defense so much better than they were last season. I mean, last season TFC defense was absolutely shambolic, and I just think that with the quality that they have with guys like Josie Altidore and Sebastian Javinko and Victor Vasquez still in this team, I think TFC should be able to be back in the playoffs now that they don't have to. Well, they still have to worry about CCL, but I think this year they'll find a way to balance this out, and yeah, I expect them to potentially make the playoffs if they don't suffer so many injuries as they did last season. The ninth thing is that Seattle will actually get off to a good start for the first half of the season. So Yeah, maybe. I mean, the Sounders, this is a second half team for the past couple of years, and you never know. Maybe they can actually get off to a good start, and I'm pretty sure all Sounders fans want this team to get off to a good start so that they don't have to worry about the second half of the season and that they have to make a resurgence to make the playoffs. The 10th thing is that at least 2 teams from each conference that make the playoffs will not make it. So, that means that 2 teams that were in the playoffs this season will miss out on the playoffs. And, in the past year, we have seen teams that made the playoffs one year and then they missed out in the second year. I know from this year, I can't quite recall which team. I know in the Western Conference, the Quakes, they made the playoffs last season and they missed it. And then, Houston, Vancouver. So we had 3 teams in the Western Conference from 2017 missed the playoffs in 2018. And then in the Eastern Conference, I know Chicago were one of them. But yeah, that probably will definitely happen with at least one team that could potentially miss the playoffs after making it this year. And then the 11th thing is that FC Dallas and NYCFC will not make the playoffs. So there you go. There potentially could be one of the teams that will not make the playoffs. For FC Dallas, they're kind of going through a rebuilding stage, and the fact that they got rid of their core and also now they don't have Oscar Pereira, it's going to be interesting to see how this team will go for it and how they can once again use their academy and maybe boost her up. And then for NYCFC, with David Villa no longer there and Domain Turin, I don't know if he's going to do well in his first full season. Is he going to be like what he did in the second half of the season where he was absolutely awful? And if that is the case, then NYCFC could be missing the playoffs this season. And then 12th thing is that LAFC will not do Atlanta United, but will still make the playoffs. So, yeah, I don't think LAFC is going to have almost the best season ever in MLS. I think LAFC, yes, they did add a couple, or actually, I don't think they add any pieces to their squad so far, but, I don't think they're going to do an Atlanta United. I don't think they're going to just go to top of the West to end the season and just basically win MLS Cup. If that happens, that would just be absolutely insane. I think there is still some issue that this team needs to address, and for me, I haven't seen a lot of big signings or a lot of depth pieces that LAFC desperately needed for this team, because depth was the ultimate cause of why LAFC kind of struggled in some of those games and ultimately cost them in terms of the playoffs. But yeah, I don't think LAFC is going to do an Atlanta United. I think they'll still make the playoffs. The team is still definitely good enough to make the playoffs, but yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. Although I think they'll probably maybe get a little bit further than they did last season, which is basically got knocked out in the knockout round, but we'll see. FC Cincinnati will make the playoffs, but most likely it will be a first round exit because apparently, traditionally, whenever an expansion team make the playoffs, they, of course, will get eliminated in the first round, no matter how it is. I mean, when you look at the history and when you look at all the teams, even including LAFC and Atlanta United, they all exit in the first round. And I think this season playoff with LAFC exiting the first round, that was probably the biggest shock in terms of expansion side not making it through, alongside with maybe Atlanta United when they play against the Crew at home. But the 14th thing is that Minnesota will win at least 10 games at the new Allianz Field. So Minnesota last year was very good at home at TCF Bank Stadium, and with them opening up a new stadium, and usually that really kind of give a lot of momentum and kind of give the players a huge lift that they are now at a new home, just as DC United when they got their new home, and how much of a big lift that is. And even going back to the Quakes, when they got a new home, when they got a Via Stadium, they were pretty good at home. They had a really good record, and at time we even call Avaya Stadium as a fortress to other team because of how good we are at home. So I think Minnesota would do just as good at their new stadium, and a bright and shiny stadium that I definitely want to visit this year if I actually have the money to do, because it's not cheap to fly to Minneapolis. The 15th thing is that Joseph Martinez will not have a 20-plus goal campaign, and that is a really bold prediction because, you know, Joseph Martinez, he was a goal machine last year. But the reason why I say this is because Miguel Almiron, no longer with Atlanta United. Yes, they're going to get Pity Martinez, but do we know Pity Martinez is going to do the same thing that Miguel Almiron does, which is just keep giving the ball to Joseph Martinez, set him up in a perfect area for him to basically put the ball in the back of the net? We don't know. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of make that bold prediction. And then the 16th thing is that BWP will win the Golden Boot. That is definitely a very bold prediction, considering the fact that there's definitely some other players you can think of on top of your head that could potentially win the Golden Boot. I mean, Joseph Martinez could be in contention to be back-to-back Golden Boot winner, but BWP, knowing that he always tends to be just so good in the regular season, he is definitely the reason why I maybe think that he could win the Golden Boot, but we'll see. The 17th thing is that Stephen Fry would win the goalkeeper of the year. So this year, Stephen Fry, a lot of people said that he got snubbed in terms of the goalkeeper of the year award, and you know, Fry is one of the best goalkeeper in the league. So certainly, I'm already kind of like, I mean, you kind of start seeing a trend where I'm starting to like make bold prediction on some of the individual award. And I actually didn't put who exactly was going to win MVP this season. So, yeah. And if I had to say who probably will win MVP, I'm going to, that's a tough one. I mean, I want to put Pity Martinez as an MVP conversation, but he hasn't even played a single minute in the league. You know, maybe Zlatan, if he has another good year, that he could be MVP. But I'm gonna say Joseph Martinez again. Maybe if he scored like 30-plus goal or something like that. But yeah, number 18, at least 2 new coaches that was appointed this offseason or last 5 months will take their team to the playoffs. So, you know, we'll see if that's gonna be the case. I think that probably would be the case with some of these new coaches, because we have so many new coaches this season, and that I think I probably should have put 3 or 4 new head coach that was appointed for this season that will make the playoffs. The 19th thing is MLS will change their playoff schedule format. Oh, and yeah, so this is the problem of me writing this 3 weeks ago, because we found out later on that they did change the record. So technically that one actually came true before I actually even did a video of it, and I forgot to actually change that and probably think of different thing. But that's, at least I'm 1 for 25 in terms of what I think that will happen in 2019, even though technically this actually happened in 2018. The 20th thing is that Avaya Stadium will still be called Avaya Stadium. So the reason why I make that prediction is because Avaya has been a couple, I think last year they filed bankruptcy, and that there was a huge rumor that Avaya Stadium would now be called something else. But most likely now they're going to just restate it and call it Avaya Stadium, because apparently Avaya has been taken over by a different owner and CEO. So yeah, Avaya is probably going to stay with that name, and the Quakes will not have a different sponsorship name in terms of their stadium. MLS average attendance will be going back up. That's my 21st prediction. You know, if Atlanta United can continue what they did last season, and certainly I think Columbus would get higher attendance. The reason why the attendance kind of dropped last season was because of the Columbus Crew situation. But having said that, one worry that I have with this prediction is we're going to get more midweek games next season, and midweek games is always the toughest to draw attendance, and maybe that is probably going to be the reason why average attendance might drop next season, is that when you have so many midweek games, most of the teams do not draw a huge crowd in terms of the midweek games compared to the weekend games, because many people have to work doing the midweek games. And then the 23rd thing is that Atlanta United, or the 22nd thing is that Atlanta United will once again average more than 50,000 people this season, which I think that prediction might come true in the future, depending on how many games they're going to open the upper deck for the regular season. And then the 23rd prediction that I made is that there will be at least 5 coaches that would be fired this season. So this season we had 7 coaches that were, well, they weren't fired, but we saw 7 different coaching changes. And I have a feeling that we're probably going to see something similar to that. And maybe next season we're going to see 5 of them getting fired, or a team decide to make a coaching change during the season or at the end of the season. And then the 24th thing is that Atlanta United will win the Supporters Shield. So there's my bold prediction in terms of the Supporters Shield winner. And then finally, to end this bold prediction, I'm gonna say Sporting KC will win the MLS Cup as my bold prediction. So last year I predicted Atlanta United to win MLS Cup as part of my bold prediction, and they won MLS Cup. So if you're a Sporting KC fan, you better hope that this luck will once again come out, and that once again I'm gonna be a prediction genius that predicted a team that will win MLS Cup, and they end up winning MLS Cup at the end of the year. But yeah, either way guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these predictions, and if you guys want to make your own prediction or make your own bold prediction for the 2019 MLS season, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.